Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today you join me in tying one of my jig streamer patterns. This is a pattern that I spent the last season or so, I wouldn't say fine tuning, but kind of adding a few little bits to it to get to where I am with it now. So this is the actual pattern here. I don't know how well you can see that on the camera. So it's effectively a black woolly bugger with obviously the legs added for that little bit extra movement. I'll tie these in two sizes. First of all, I'll tie it in a size 6, which is what I'm going to be tying today, and I'll also drop it down to a size 10. So with the size 6, I like to use the Hends BL120s. And when I tie them in a size 6, I'll also use a 5.5mm tungsten bead. I get mine from Tungsten Beads Plus. If I'm tying it in a size 10, I'll drop it down to a 4mm bead, and that's what works best for me. In terms of materials for the fly, obviously we're going to be using some black Marabou. We've got some silver wire for the ribbon, a little bit of UV flash. For the body, I'll be using the Veniard green and black Peacock dub, and for the hackle, I've kind of got a little olive, dyed olive badger hackle. So we'll get to it. Just like usual, we'll catch the thread in behind the bead rather, sorry. And with this, because it's quite a large bead, being a 5.5mm tungsten, I like to just build that little dam up just to keep the bead in place. It doesn't take too much. And then once we've got that, we can take touching turns with our thread rearward until we get to the bend of the hook. There, happy with that. The thread turns don't need to be particularly neat. We just need to get to the back of that hook. We're then going to obviously look to add our Marabou tail, and again I've gone for the Veniard black Marabou. So obviously it comes like that. So we take a nice pinch. And then once we've got our tail together, we can stroke some of the fibres back, and we just need to neaten it up a little bit, so we can just cut those fibres that we don't need, and then we can look to add our Marabou tail. So again, like a pinch and loop style. With this particular fly, obviously because I'm fishing it upstream, sometimes drawing it back, I don't like to make the tail too long. It doesn't need to be. I'd say it's kind of twice the length of the hook, so I'll add a little bit more to that though, just to bulk it out a little. And again, just a pinch and loop. It's not the neatest of ties, but it's over the last year or so it's proved to be fairly prolific for me. So happy with that tail. Like I say, it does look quite bushy, but obviously once it's starts to move through the water, it does settle down a little bit more. So in terms of flash within the tail, I like to add a couple of strands of pearl flash. So what I'll do with that is take the thread back, and then I'll offer it up under the tying thread. Try and get them so they're roughly even, and then I'll bring the tying thread back and I'll catch them in like that. If you make sure that we hold them back, then they should settle fairly evenly. We want them to be roughly the length of the the tail. So we're going to add our rib next, which, like I say, is a silver wire. If you want to use black wire, you can do. I just like to use the silver on this. I think it shows through a little better. Just got that last little bit of Marabou out the way. So for the body, like I say, I like to use this stuff here from Veniards, which is the Peacock dubbing in black and green. Just adds a nice little bit of sparkle to the fly. Just like always when I dub, I add manageable amounts. I don't like to add too much in one go. So we'll start it off and we'll bring it up the body, working our way back up to obviously behind the bead. And as you go in, you can just take a little more dubbing as you need it. And like I say, it just makes that a little bit more manageable. With this particular dubbing, I personally don't feel the need to create a dubbing loop. I think just this is more than enough. So once we back up to that behind the bead, which we are, we can look to add our hackle. So like I say, this is a dyed badger hackle, dyed in olive. So strip the fluff away and then we tie it by the base. So we take a few turns just to secure it. 2, 3, 4, and we'll fold the tip over. We'll add a few more. It just helps to secure it that little bit better. Trim away the waist piece of the hackle. Come in with our hackle pliers at the base of the tip of the feather. And behind the eye, we want to take one full turn before we start our palmering. And then we're going to, in open turns, work our way back down towards the base of the body. Okay, so once we're there, holding the hackle pliers in one hand, we then begin to rib the fly, which obviously just secures that hackle in place. I'm going to take open turns back up, like so. Getting caught up. And then once I get back to the head, I want to make one full turn just so I know that everything's secured there. So I can secure that ribbon in place now. 3 turns, 1 in front. We can helicopter the wire and it should break away. We can then come in with our scissors and trim away the hackle that we don't need. Okay, so I like to draw the fibres back now. Like so. Take a few turns with our thread just to keep them in place. So to this fly, this is where it becomes slightly different from your standard woolly bugger pattern. I like to add these barred legs. It just gives a little bit of movement. For each side of the fly, I will add a single leg. Okay, so these are black and olive, and I like them to be obviously the length of the tail at the end. So I'll add one, few turns to secure it, and then I'll rotate the fly around to myself, and again roughly the length of the tail. I'll take a few turns to secure it. Should do what I want to do for me. There we go. Before inverting it back. Now you can adjust these now, so I'm happy with that. So we'll keep the legs out of the way. We come in with our scissors and obviously trim away trim away the waste. Now, I don't like to add more than one leg on each side. I think just the ones that the right balance of movement. So hold those up, take a few more turns with our thread just to neaten it up, and then we're going to come in with a little bit more of our black and green dubbing, just create a nice head. So again, we don't want to dub this too tightly. As I said before, it's quite a loose dubbing. Just take a few turns and I'll add a tiny little bit more. And this just gives it that little, like I say, that little flash as it's moving through. So once we're happy with that, we can obviously finish our fly. And again, I'll be using my Veniards clear varnish to do so. And find the dubbing needle. So just add a drop to the tying thread, and then we'll look to finish the fly with as usual, a 5-turn whip finish. So one, helps if you don't drop the thread. Try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And because these are quite durable flies, we'll add another 5-turn whip. 2, 3, 4, 5. Come in, take away our tying thread, and there you have it, the finished fly. Like I say, a slight variance on the traditional black woolly bugger, just with the added addition of the barred legs, just to give it that extra little bit of movement in the water. And like I say, with this being a jig fly, it will ride inverted like so, and those, like I say, those barred legs just give it that little bit of extra movement, as well as obviously the hackle. So like I say, give these a try. Really easy to get tied, not have a lot of materials, and you can give them a try. And it can really is some of the best fishing that you can have fishing streamers. So give them a try, see how you get on, and let me know. All the best.